Hi everybody, welcome to Pockets Full of Soup Interlude Edition. Exciting things are happening. Look forward to new episodes, new projects, new ideas, new guests, all kinds of cool things happening. But right now, we're going completely off the rails. That's right, Pockets Full of Soup, the storytelling show, on this one-off Riverdale special. Why? Because I love Riverdale and it's my show, and I want to tell you how much fun I'm having with it, and also because I have two good friends that are really a lot of fun to have on podcasts that also enjoy Riverdale, and those two good friends
couldn't be here tonight.
They couldn't be here tonight, so I'm stuck with these schmucks.
Hey.
That's right. Who are you?
I tried to say hi. Hi, I'm Andrew Goldfarb. I like Riverdale quite a bit.
You are Andrew Goldfarb, and next to you?
And I am Andrew. No, that's not me. I'm Jonathan Dornbush. That is actually my name, and I do like Riverdale as well.
That's right. Previously, both of you guests on Pockets Full of Soup.
What a cliffhanger we left it on.
You did leave it on a cliffhanger. When last we met, Jonathan was telling a heartrending story.
Yeah, your episode, in all seriousness, is very good, very sad.
Thank you. Yeah, well, yeah, it is a weird way in a cliffhanger, but that's not the time. Yeah, it was fun in a weird way. But you guys did a great episode also.
Yeah, actually, you were on too.
I was on too. I did at this table, on this couch, I did, me and Marty talked about being thankful for each other, and then I did a solo one with you where we just answered questions.
And guess what? The equipment quality has not improved ever since then.
I'm only on the weird episodes. I haven't done like a traditional episode yet.
Have you never done a traditional?
No, I would.
Okay. Well, you would now? All right. I guess
you have to sing Tradition from Fiddler on the Roof to be on it. But yeah.
So this is one of our kind of diversion episodes here. And again, in the interlude as we prepare for the next season. But yeah, okay, so let's get started with this. Why are we doing this? Because sometimes it's just fun to talk with your friends about things you love. And this was something that came up that we mutually enjoy and thought, hey, we'll share our mutual gushing with you. So here's how the rules of this here Riverdale one-shot interlude work. First, there will be spoilers. If you never plan on watching Riverdale, just hang around. We're going to tell you everything that happens anyway. And we're going to discuss it in some detail with a lot of enthusiasm. So live vicariously through us if it's a show you never think you'll watch. If you don't care about spoilers, listen, because we're going to sell you on how much fun it is. If you do care about spoilers and you're going to watch Riverdale, right around now is probably about the time to not delete this, but merely put it on pause. Go watch all 13 episodes. Is it 13 episodes for a season, right? 13 episodes of season 1 of Riverdale. Then come back and pick and welcome back. Hi, yeah, exactly. On top of that, before we kick in, I'd like to thank everybody who helps on Patreon, but particularly our Patreon producers, Nick Rie and Robert Nieder, whose generous support makes Pockets Full of Soup possible every week. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, gals, so much. Thank all of you. Now, are you ready to Riverdale it up?
Nah.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm 100% ready. I was born ready.
All right.
Like the maple syrup fields of Riverdale.
You got to say it. You got to say it all
maple
surly.
syrup trees.
The maple syrup.
Like the maple syrup
Fields of
trees
Riverdale.
of Riverdale. The dark maple syrup fields,
Runs
trees, orchards.
brown like blood.
It does run like blood.
After
Okay,
a
so
few days.
isn't angsty Jughead just the best? Oh my goodness, I love him so much.
All right, number one, Jughead, by far the best character.
Jughead is so good.
Like I love before this, right? Archie and popular culture, whatever. Archie comics, my parents read them when they were kids. Like, been around forever.
I have a friend who is kind of weirdly obsessed with Archie as just like a thing.
And
he would read the comics.
Well, and that's the comics that came back, and they had like Hot Jughead, and they were doing like a little more subversive things. They had like zombies in them, and they were doing all this crazy stuff.
Which we'll definitely also get to that.
Yeah.
I mean, probably.
Yeah, well, because of the showrunner and his involvement with those.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, Afterlife with Archie. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm fascinated by a subversive take on something so wholesome and so for so long, like Archie was the butt of a joke of like what is the most just saccharine, like completely like whatever G-rated comic, and like now it's become something more than that. And I don't know, like I think the show is such a smart take on those characters.
Do you think it's more or different?
I think it's different.
Or both?
I mean, it's more. I like it not because like I said, like comics and I haven't read those comics, but like the comics have dipped into subversive territory, obviously.
Yeah.
I like that this is trying something new as far as I know, with the caveat that I haven't read the comics.
Okay, well, it's definitely trying something new.
Yeah, well, and I also think going into it, I was not excited for it when it was first premiering. I was like, oh god, like the whole point of it is just to make, oh, Archie is a whole sexy show now. Like that seemed like a dumb idea, but it's so much more than that. And I think that was more the marketing of the show than the show itself.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so when you say more than that, let's jump right in. What's one of those more than that?
Well, I think what I didn't expect was just how self-aware the show was of how it was sexy Archie. Like, it knows that. Like, I love that Archie's biggest problems are, I'm good at sports and music, and I don't know which to choose, and also 12 beautiful women want to be my girlfriend, and I don't know who to choose. And the show knows, and it's not, like, interesting as, like, all the other characters are so much more interesting to me, but the show still makes it
Archie's kind of the Batman of that universe. He's surrounded by more interesting people. That's definitely the case. Yeah.
It's also just, it's not, I mean, everything you said is spot on, but it's also I think the reason it's more than what it was marketed as for me is that it has so much style. It has these like weird like noir trappings, and like everything is like, so I watched 13 Reasons Why on Netflix, and when I watched that show, it felt like it was missing something. And then I went back to Riverdale and I was like, oh, it's missing style.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like Riverdale is just, like, it's pretty, and it's like looking at that kind of faded glory version of the town and seeing like the diner. It's just like they do really smart like 50s inspired things that are still like modern.
It is. Oh, go ahead.
It feels of a certain period, but it is modern day. And for me, the thing that stands out is the whole set is incredible of the whole town, but the costuming is great. The way they do every single character, like you instantly can tell who a character is by their costuming, and it all works.
Yeah, the production design, the costuming, the art direction, all fantastic. Way better than I think that we had any right to expect when we first just heard, oh, it's going to be modern, serious Archie. I particularly the use of color is extraordinary. I mean, Archie's a colorful comic. It's a colorful book. That's one of its. I'm a big Archie fan. I like Archie history. I like the Archieverse.
Because I don't think you've read the comics.
No, I've seen one or two from them.
I like the Archieverse, and color is part of it. And how they're able to create a show that still, it just pops, but it somehow still looks moody and filtered. You take something that should be bright and cheery, and suddenly it looks like dark and dismal. And they get that really well, but yet it's still full of color.
Yeah,
and that's the style. And you mentioned the noir nods. Can you point something out specifically? Like,
well, I mean, even
just the premise,
exactly,
of the
like,
pilot,
and even the narration itself. It just like they have like this very like, it has that like whodunit vibe to it, obviously, but like I think you have like more of like this like old like 50s detective thing going on top of just a traditional high school show. Like it's I think it's very layered, Jared. I think it has a lot of depth to it.
But that's the funny thing. It seems like the simplest, most blunt instrument, but it is remarkably thoughtfully put together. I think going back to Jonathan, what he said a few minutes ago.
Hey, Jonathan.
It's so ridiculously honest. That show knows what it is.
Well, and so my big thing, like in general in pop culture, like dating back for a few years for me, I figured out what I love is like the emotional honesty in a thing where, because there's so much sort of apathy or sarcasm to things, or like you have to be winking and be like, but we're not really taking this seriously. But it just dives fully into it, and it knows what it is and accepts what it is and embraces that.
Yeah.
And it makes it better because of it, I feel like.
Yeah. So what is Riverdale, if we're going to be honest about it? If it's honest about itself, what does it say about itself? What is Riverdale?
I think to me, it is a show that embraces its camp. Like, it knows that it is a campy, over-the-top, exaggerated show. Like Cheryl Blossom. Yeah. Cheryl Blossom is a character who, like, to me, is the symbol of the whole show for me.
Yes.
In that, like, everything she's saying is, like, completely self-aware, a little bit of satire of high school shows, but also, like, everyone in the world acknowledges it, and like it's like she's like this really good meta representation of what I feel like the entire show is.
Yeah. Cheryl's monologues and Jughead's diaries.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would ever actually say or even write those things in most contexts.
Especially you would think a kid at that age.
But they fit that world.
Well, I think that's I think like, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this. Like, I don't know, I just spoke for you. That was weird. But like I really like Aaron Sorkin. And I appreciate Sorkin movies and TV shows, but I also completely acknowledge and respect the fact that no one talks like that in real life.
Yeah.
And that grates on some people. Like, some people can't watch Sorkin because they're like, no one would say that. For me, like, I like that. I like that kind of like hyper stylized vibe. And Riverdale has that in spades. Like, granted, the dialogue isn't like Sorkin quality or anything, but like it definitely has like a particular cadence and a particular like tone that makes it unique, and I think it does make it harder to watch, like, 13 Reasons Why. Not to pick on that show, is fine, but like it makes it hard to watch like other high school driven shows.
Where do you think?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like if the cadence of Sorkin is musical, like people, the way they talk to each other is like it's a musical movement. In Riverdale, everyone is talking in a sort of like self-aware, almost like harsh way, but it's intended to, I feel like, it's harsh because it is showing you the underside of what the front they're putting on. Like it's all about, to me, is about like the masks everyone wears and the seedy underbelly of it, which is a lot of like noir shows or shows where it's based on a mystery in it. But I think Riverdale succeeds at it so much because it knew that from minute one.
Yeah, it's got a delightful, kind of Peyton Place melodrama to it. Yeah. It kind of reminds me in a lot of ways of late night soap operas from the 1980s, which were built entirely around just ludicrous plot points.
Dynasty and stuff.
I'm thinking mostly of something like Dallas. But here's what Dallas and Riverdale have in spades that most shows don't, that I think makes them both great shows. I think Riverdale's better than Dallas, but I think Dallas pioneered this. And that's that you dive in, you turn the dial to 11, and you commit. Yeah. Everything is angsty. Maple syrup is angsty. Yeah. In
Maple
Riverdale.
syrup is the reason people die.
Yes, exactly. Wholesomeness is angsty. Bright colors are turned somber. Love is turned sour. Yeah. Life is turned murder. Mansions are turned dark palaces of evil magic.
I mean, it's a great mansion. It is a show of ulterior motives and secrets. Yeah. And like nothing is safe from that. Exactly. And so like everything means something else. Everything has a but. Everything has a like consequence. I think that's a really fun way to do a a story like this. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
The CW.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, okay, now let's talk for a second about the
CW-ness of it all.
I am Vampire Diaries first like 4 seasons are still among my favorite.
Yeah, I still need to watch it. I've heard such great things about those.
I jumped ship after like a few seasons, but I think the early life of that show I was totally into.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And Gossip Girl, honestly, I think the first season of Gossip Girl
1 is great. Yeah, like that is what like stronger, not the best of the OC, but like Gossip Girl was getting near to like strong.
Yeah, especially I love the pilot.
The pilot's
great.
The
pilot is incredible.
I think it's easy for people to dump on the OC or not the OC, sorry. But it's easy for people to dump on the CW, maybe because it's obvious that the CW makes stars. They don't start with stars. They make stars by and large, and the shows tend to have a lower budget appearance sometimes. But what comes out of that is very often ridiculously creative. It's genuinely speaking very fun. The writing's often very clever. Yeah, they bring in they have some really, really talented.
I mean, that's Berlanti, dude. Like I feel like honestly, like this whole new era of CW, because like I think if you go way back, if you go back to like, because CW was born from UPN and WB merging.
Right. Yeah.
And so in the early, like you eventually got like Veronica Mars and cool stuff in like the early days, but like there were a lot of bad shows. And like, I think like,
and I watched them.
I did too.
Yeah. I watched all those shows.
Diehard Smallville fan. Like I kind of came to this point, like I watched Vampire Diaries. I got to this point where like I started to like CW shows, but in that like guilty pleasure ironic way.
Yeah.
But I think
early era CW was guilty pleasure.
Exactly. And even like Smallville, which I loved and watched every episode of, like I totally acknowledge its faults. But like I think this new wave of like all the superhero shows, the DC shows, like Arrow and all that, and now this, like that's all the Berlanti verse or whatever you want to call it. Like I think it has added a credibility to the network that wasn't there before.
Well, and I think this one ties into it. This is not the show for it. I could do a whole show about these other ones, but I think Jane the Virgin is legitimately one of the best shows on television right now. It has been for a season and a half. And Crazy Ex-Girlfriend it has its bad episodes, but it is unlike anything else on television, and it's also great in its own way.
And iZombie even. Like,
iZombie is...
They're fun. Like, there's a...
That whole show is so much fun.
I do think it comes down to self-awareness. I think it's that the CW started out as these shows that were very clearly aimed at it was the network for teens. Yeah. It was like this ain't your mom's show. This is kids like us.
No, the marketing around the origins of the CW was Gossip Girl. Was like this is scandalous, and not to get too far off track, but I think that is why Supernatural survived this long. Yeah. Is because that show is so self-aware of what it is and does the funniest meta episodes ever, and I think that's why it sustained the way it has.
When your show has episodes titled "Chris Angel is a douchebag,"
it's you know what you're doing. Yeah. I love that show. But yeah, anyway, back to Riverdale.
No, back to Riverdale. No, but I think that is important, the CW context. So what about, could Riverdale have been born someplace else, or do you think that is a uniquely CW show?
Well, I think it's uniquely CW in that everyone's really hot.
Yes. Yeah, everyone. It is.
That's like ultimately like.
Yeah.
All right, there's a ridiculous degree of physical attractiveness
There is.
going on that program. Although again, you're right, CW. I mean, Ian Somerhalder, Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
I just melt. I can't look at that man. Why are you mentioning other people?
I didn't watch Vampire Diaries.
Sorry.
So that's
Ian
my
Somerhalder,
apologies.
Vampire Diaries.
More importantly, Lost. If you're talking Ian Somerhalder.
Vampire Diaries.
Boone forever.
He was a vampire.
That's fair. It's a fair point.
Vampire
Yeah.
Ian Somerhalder.
But I mean,
even
like,
loves
sexier
forever.
than Boone.
I think when I think CW,
Yeah.
I think a little bit of campiness. I think a little style, a little something like you said that's a little offbeat, might not work in a network. But most importantly, I think abs and
Yeah.
cleavage, and I mean, it's like ultimately like it is. Every show is meant to be a little bit titillating, and I
Yeah.
feel like they do a very good job of like walking that PG-13 line of like none of these shows are doing anything that you're not seeing on like HBO times 10.
Yes.
You know?
No, it's almost comedic. I mean, they play it up again. It's self-aware, and it's not self-aware in the wink way. That's what I can't figure out quite how they do that. If you watch some self-aware satirical programming or movie, you watch something with anything with Bruce Campbell in it. He's hamming it up. He's chewing on the furniture. It's great. You love it. Self-aware. This is not. Nobody ever just looks at the camera and goes,
Yeah.
or almost
Yeah.
never. So, how do they pull it off? What's
Riverdale
the secret?
specifically?
Yeah. What's the secret?
I mean, I think the thing itself is so heightened. Like the presentation of the main murder mystery, like from the pilot on, is at a like nothing about it is subtle. And I think when it inserts you into that world from that viewpoint, that makes some of the wackier things feel at home.
So what is Riverdale's most titillating moment? What's where are they really trying to get you?
I mean, probably like the Miss Grundy and Archie sex scenes. I would say. Either
Yeah,
that
I
or
think so.
Well,
okay,
them in the
I'm
car was like the promotional thing of like,
that.
ooh.
But I'm actually gonna cancel out my own answer. It's
Okay.
actually I think it's the Betty and Veronica in the pool with the shitty dude who
Okay.
like
Oh,
sexually
yeah.
harassed all the girls.
Where we're
Yep.
drowning the guy?
Yeah.
Also, is it in the first episode where they dance together and kiss? Or
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the first
right.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
first episode.
So basically,
Yeah.
the pilot.
Okay. So the pilot and then episode 3.
Yes.
We
Is
got
that
those
3?
two
Yeah.
moments.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
3.
you really know this well.
And then,
I
like,
really love Riverdale.
So, and I should say full disclosure that Jonathan marathoned it
Yes,
after the fact.
yeah.
I watched week to week, and so
Uh-huh.
I'm probably the least well versed in it. And then you watched week to week, but you also just rewatched, right?
Yeah, what I did was I jumped in about 4 in.
Okay.
Then I watched week to week. Then I went back and rewatched some things because
Gotcha.
I really enjoyed it.
Same.
Unironically, I mean, this isn't a guilty pleasure. That's the fun
no,
of it.
not at
Like,
all.
it's actually, and I don't want to give the idea that it's just darn good entertainment. It's entertaining television, and it's there's something to be found there. Every episode finds ways to surprise me. It can be. And when it's predictable, it's always predictable in interesting ways. I mean, the show has fooled me many times, but it also sometimes I totally saw that coming, but I didn't know I'd enjoy getting here so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, just you had reminded me of something that I forget if I read it on the AV Club or somewhere, but someone basically defined the term middlebrow of like all these very like it's not the prestige TV shows that are trying to be like highbrow art or like lowbrow reality. It's like this middle ground of very solidly well-crafted work that is just trying to do that well. It's not trying to be anything crazier.
Yeah, I feel like it's a more honest version of Game of Thrones sometimes. Like it's melodrama and soap opera.
Yeah.
It's less bloody and it's more honest.
And it knows what it is. Well, I mean, like you called it surprising. I mean, so like. Let me take you on a journey. You're Jared Petty, whatever, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's like episode 2, whatever. Who did you think killed? What's his name?
Who do I think?
Blossom.
Jason Blossom.
Jason Blossom.
Who did I think killed Jason Blossom?
Like early on.
I was really hoping it was Archie's dad.
Interesting.
That's who I was going for. I was thinking that
I like
Archie's
that.
dad killed him, and that was going to be the deciding factor. But I was also, Afterlife with Archie, I was way in on the, yeah, absolutely, this is going straight Lovecraftian horror beginning of season 2. It became apparent toward the end that they're going to take a little more time. But this is the CW. Sooner or later, this turns into Charmed. I mean, that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, Cheryl does have that dream where he is alive again.
Exactly.
And she attacks him. Like, that is a clear... And the showrunner, I'm forgetting his name, but who also writes the Archie comics, like, he said that was a clear hint. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you keep seeing the spider brooch. You keep seeing...
Yes,
And this is, if you're not familiar... By now, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you're familiar with the background of Archie Comics. Includes a lot of characters, not just these few you've had. Including Sabrina.
Everyone thought we were going to have Sabrina in the finale.
Right. Man, I would have loved that.
Well, everybody wants Sabrina. But they're saying they know they don't have to give it to us now.
So many people have the view of Sabrina of the half-hour sitcom.
Yeah,
I think also...
Melissa Joan Hart.
Yes, that is the Sabrina that a lot of people know, which I think is funny.
Shout out to Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah, which is interesting because Sabrina's been through a lot of kind of incarnations too.
Yeah.
But you have Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the comics, it was almost like a kind of a 60s mod type character in a way there for a while. And she was kind of to inject life into the Archie comics, and then
a Sabrina character in the show would be so cool, and if it just had like that very subtle, like almost like the Leftover style, like is it supernatural or is it not? Like leave it very vague. I would love that.
And she lives across the river essentially.
Yeah,
right?
there's a town across the river from Riverdale, and that's where Sabrina lives. And again, in Afterlife with Archie, that's where the kind of Lovecraftian apocalypse comes pouring out, and suddenly there are elder gods running around, and there's undead walking around, and people are getting eaten.
Feels like season 6 of Riverdale.
Let's
be that.
I don't think you went much longer. Because you don't want to turn it... The problem with mystery shows is they can't stay mysteries. Season 1 was a mystery.
And they had to solve it.
Right, and they did. And they got it. But I don't think Season 2 is going to be a mystery.
No, I can see them leading into different tones.
Yeah, what do you think they'd go for in Season 2? Because I think Season 3 goes full Buffy.
I can see Season 3, yeah.
But Season 2, what's it going to be?
I see this being like a 4-season show max.
Really?
I wouldn't want it to be much longer.
On the CW?
I mean, they can go for 20 years, sure. But like, I would want them to stick. If they get more and more serialized... Yeah. I'd want to. Like, most of the long-running CW shows found a way to balance both. And I don't know if the setup of this show can balance Case of the Week with serialization.
Well, ideally, I don't like most shows to run more than 4 years. But I think this one may very well get at least 5. They're getting a 22-episode Season 2.
Yeah, and we'll see how that works. I thought 13 was a great length.
I'm actually bummed about that. Yeah. I would way prefer a tight 13-episode season.
Unless they do the like mini arc thing. I can see them.
I'm not sure what they'll do with it. I'm really kind of curious about that.
I don't know. I think they will go mystery, honestly. I think they'll... Because I think it has a very good, like, Scooby Gang vibe right now. And they just kind of, like... It was that weird thing where, like, obviously they all cross paths a lot, but, like, I think that now they have this weird solidarity. Like, that scene where they're watching the video together in the... Well, I guess it's in the finale and the episode before that.
Yes.
Like, that scene to me represents, like, these guys are now bonded. And, like, this is now, like, the core cast is now, like... I hope they're done with infighting and stuff. Like, there won't be, but I want to see them work together on something. Maybe even don't do a murder again, but like maybe even unraveling something bigger, and maybe even the Blossoms and the murder weaves into that in some
new way. I mean, we do, who was putting the drugs there? What's Hiram's role in this whole thing? That's all out there.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not exactly sure how to nail what I would say the tone is, but I feel like crime will play a larger role in it in terms of Hiram, and then also the Serpents.
The Serpents, for sure.
Right, because clearly just the way the season ends, that is going to be a focus for Jughead, if not a large part of the Riverdale.
I'm sorry, you threw me. You're giving serious, well thought out prediction, and I'm just grinning from ear to ear. Angie, for weeks now, my wife has taken on just at random intervals. We'll be sitting in a quiet room, and she'll be like, "Jared," and I look over, and she'll just go, "The Serpents," and that's it. She'll say it out of because, and again, the serpents are part of the lore and mythology. But it is kind of funny. It's like, he's a serpent.
I like how they have literal snakes. For
it's so great.
Yeah.
So you talked about Sabrina.
Yeah.
The highlight of this for me, in terms of the best portrayal in comics history and in live action history, I love this version of Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh yeah,
they're
great.
Honestly, like would be
more than the movie.
Significantly, yeah, even more than the
2001.
That was Rachel Lee Cook,
Rachel Lee
I
Cook,
believe, star of Scorched and other fine motion pictures.
Yeah, Tara Reid, Rosario Dawson. And,
oh my gosh, you know this better than I do.
Oh man,
I watch it once a week now. So.
Yeah,
but no,
I totally believe you watch it once a week.
We have a standing news meeting to watch them.
That's true. I can totally see them doing a backdoor pilot for Sabrina, like get her in there and spin off eventually.
Yeah.
I could totally watch it. Josie and the Pussycat spin off too.
Well, they talked kind of about how they would do like an Archieverse. Like the CW is open to it. I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that Valerie almost instantly became a real character. That was fun to see.
Yes.
And
cool.
although I do think she kind of, I mean, Archie was kind of dumb, but man, talk about wow. Well, Archie is pretty dumb, but he's so pretty.
Yeah, he's.
I mean, he just apparently he's from New Zealand. And
the real life actor.
Yeah, the real life actor. He's a New Zealander, and man, if you just like Google shirtless Archie and go to images,
I do often.
It's kind of amazing.
I follow them all on Instagram, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm pretty ripped under this hoodie here now, but that guy's got me beat by a long shot. It's
like,
really
barely,
pretty.
But
I
would agree.
Yeah. It goes Stephen Amell, Archie.
It's like the three of them on the various salmon ladders.
Yes.
Is Luke Perry dead?
No.
You don't think so? No.
No. The reason I don't think he's dead is because I think they want to do. It is too tempting to do the love triangle with him and Hiram and Veronica's mom.
Okay.
Also, no one dies off screen in television anymore.
That's true.
You have to see them die.
I think you'll get a bunch of episodes of Archie being emo because of it and visiting him in the hospital and is he going to die and it comes close and like Archie's really sad about it, blah, blah, but I think he pulls through.
Okay, so
he cheats. He goes back and forth between Betty and Veronica at that point.
We've talked about other CW shows. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites really is, again, the first few seasons of Vampire Diaries. After you get past the first about half dozen episodes where it's getting its footing, it turns into one of the best things that was on TV at the time. One of the things I loved about Vampire Diaries, huge ensemble cast, but also anyone could die at any moment, and unlike some other shows where anyone could die at any moment, that wasn't really the selling point, and it wasn't gratuitous. It was just like, holy cow, there was a true sense of danger.
Yeah. Early season 2 of Arrow felt that way too.
Yeah, exactly. Same kind of vibe. And it was different than Game of Thrones, which at first Game of Thrones felt that way, and then after a while it kind of felt like you were just getting
Game of Thrones felt that way because you didn't know who the safe characters were.
Yeah.
Like I feel like 6 seasons in, I know exactly who's safe. Whereas in season 1, the 4 people they set up as being main characters who then died, you were like, oh, holy crap, this show is like really bold. And then they kind of stopped doing that.
Well, and The Walking Dead has kind of been chided for that, and that like, oh, the core 6 of them who were in the pilot, except for spoilers for The Walking Dead for 2 seasons ago, but when but so when they kill someone off who had been on the show for a while, it was just a surprise in that like everyone thought that whole core was safe.
You do feel like those guys were safe, but I don't know, it felt less gratuitous. Anyway, this is Vampire Diaries. Who's the first to go? If anybody goes. Ooh. Who actually gets killed
of the main
cast?
We're parents included or kids?
Parents count too. Okay. Oh yeah, because the parents we've been started on the parent. We haven't really talked about the characters much at all. But.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like if you went for the core cast of the kids, like
to me, the core cast is just the 4. It's just Betty, Veronica, Archie, and Jughead.
Not even Cheryl.
I think then you go to tier 2, which is Cheryl. And
I would
the
include
Sheriff's
Cheryl in
son
tier 1.
Oh wow! I feel what's that?
I feel like Cheryl was too major a part of this season, and that she's tier 1 for me. I don't know if she stays that way.
That's what I'm unsure of exactly. Like if Jason Blossom's not the central mystery, then like is Cheryl part of the core ensemble?
If you don't have Cheryl to talk, who talks for Cheryl?
That's a fair point. Fair point. All right, fine. Cheryl's in
I
tier 1.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that.
I apologize.
But
Cheryl's
again,
in tier 1.
best lines in the show.
That 100%.
Cheryl's great.
And so I'm like, well, I don't know if you can kill her.
And I have a huge crush on her.
So the core 4 and her, then I think are always safe. I don't think any of them ever die ever.
I think you killed Betty or Veronica at one point in the show.
Would you do it?
I think I would. If I were, I would towards the end of that show. I would kill one of them.
That'd be cool.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, also all bets are off in a finale.
Yeah, Endgame, sure.
But let's
like,
go pre-finale.
I would. If I knew I was going to my final season, I would kill one of them off in the finale.
That's
and have that deal with that.
That's extraordinary.
My read on the show is that the core cast and then
I love them.
Like those main 4 plus Cheryl, I don't think you ever see die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Cheryl. I don't know. You
really think they might kill Cheryl? Okay.
I think that Betty, Veronica, Archie, and Jughead will see the show through till the end. I think anyone else, I do think is
on the table.
Safe. Yeah.
Okay. So who goes first out of the extended cast?
Cheryl.
So she's the first one. Okay. Cheryl goes first.
I would probably say a parent would go first.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure which.
Oh, that's true, actually.
I like so many of the parents.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so Hiram, assuming Hiram's a big part of season 2, he's dead by the end of season 2.
Yes, yeah.
That's not a character that sticks around.
You don't think? Oh, really?
Because I think Veronica's mom ends up with Archie's dad.
Yeah.
You
Well, and
want
then
that to happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into it.
What if Veronica ends up with Archie and Veronica's mom ends up with Archie's
I mean, that's
dad?
That's television.
That's just taboo enough that show wants that to
Yeah.
happen.
That's
I
a
feel
good
like.
point.
Yeah.
That's true.
Also, yeah, I feel like that's happened on television enough.
it's a double wedding with
Yeah,
Archie.
exactly,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
That's kind of fantastic. You're right. So talking about Hiram for a second, we now know Hiram's been cast.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't want to know who Hiram's cast as, you shouldn't be listening. Hiram is Kelly Ripa's husband.
Yeah.
Mark Consuelos?
Yep. And good.
I'm a big Consuelos head.
Kind of inspired casting, I think.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good choice.
I think he works.
But who would your Hiram have been?
Zach Woods.
And the mics go dead.
I mean, I love Zach. Wouldn't
Wouldn't that have been?
But
I
who?
mean, my thing is, I expected it. Okay, so we were actually just talking about this.
Yeah.
The point of Hiram, in my eyes, other than obviously fulfilling some of the mystery stuff or answering some of the questions, is a love triangle between him and Luke Perry and Veronica's mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that to me is the point of that character coming in face to face. So, because we have Luke Perry, I think it would have been really interesting to do like a Brian Austin Green or Jason Priestley as like his counterpart.
That would be hilarious.
I think that would be a really fun.
Oh,
thing.
that's
I can see them
adorable.
also not wanting to though because of fear of the stunt casting overtaking the show.
Totally.
But I agree that like that would have been my go-to. if I
Yeah,
were
and there's so
casting.
many like
Yeah.
they had like Molly Ringwald. They
Oh,
have,
that
Yeah.
I fell off my chair when she walked in. I was just like, "That's perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you
was
for
so smart.
loving me, CW.
It's so
Thank
perfect
you.
to have like these old 80s and 90s icons in a
Yeah.
show like this.
Have Peter Gallagher.
And
on.
just he's
I'd
got
be
that
happy.
bright
I'd be
red
so
hair,
happy.
and there's Molly Ringwald just walking through. And it's not like Molly Ringwald shows up in much.
No.
It's like somebody went to Paris. Is like Molly Ringwald.
She was
please
in
go do this.
Secret Life of the American Teenager and this.
I
She's probably in
haven't
a
seen
couple
Secret
things.
Life of the American Teenager. Should I?
No.
No. All right.
No. I mean, it gave us Shailene Woodley, and she's great in things, but that show's not great.
All seriousness, Hiram for you, Jonathan.
That's really difficult. I like now that I know that Mark Consuelos is cast. I think he's legitimately a great choice for that.
Yeah.
I probably would have had we not had the discussion. Jason Priestley would have been the first name to pop into my head.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something new to be original and not just copy everyone.
No, that's
here
okay.
At the
I
table.
think Matthew Broderick would have been a really funny choice. Not that he would have done it.
Who's the best CW guest star crossover? If we're gonna have somebody from any of CW's other shows take a stop in Riverdale. If anybody
Barry Allen?
stops over, yeah, can Barry Allen stop in Riverdale one night?
Oh, I'm blanking on the character's name. I don't want to pull out my phone and Google. There's a Jane the Virgin character. It's her father. And it's killing me that I don't know his name, but he's like my favorite character on that show. And he is such a heightened character. He essentially is a soap opera star who outside of his soap opera work is a soap opera character.
All right.
But he's amazing and great. And he could have been a character that they overused too much and was just awful, but they use him perfectly, and it would be amazing to see him show up in this world.
Okay,
just
so
for
we-
2 minutes, it would be so weird. I don't know if they'd know how to react.
So he just shows. What's he do? What's he do in town?
He's there, possibly shooting a show or something. Like
Okay.
they're in town. They thought it was a great on location set, and he's there shooting it.
I do love the small town being the venue for ridiculous things.
Yes.
Part that it can happen in very, very lighthearted ways. It worked on a lot of, again, old 80s, 90s sitcoms. But I also love that for some reason, if you're, again, Twin Peaks spoilers here for a second. Are you guys safe on this?
Go ahead.
But,
I've never even seen season 2. So
having Nine Inch Nails show up
Yes.
in Twin Peaks
Yeah.
is just delightful. It's like this. Why is this happening? So much black leather. It
Yeah.
was beautiful.
I'm excited. Like most of these shows, right? In any show, really. Season 1 starts like fairly grounded, sticks to the core concept. Season 2 tries something riskier. Season 3 maybe gets a little further from the mark. And then by like 4, 5, 6, 7, shows get weird. I can't wait till Riverdale gets weird.
Yeah.
Because like right now, I feel like it is relatively safe, and I do think we get 1 or 2 more seasons like that. But I totally think when they start bringing the occult and the supernatural and the stunt casting and the weird cameos,
yeah.
that's when the show is going to be
Well,
amazing.
and that was
yeah.
Supernatural for me really kicked into. I love that show, but seasons 4 and 5 of that show are legitimately some of my favorite genre TV of the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
Because they lean so heavily into we're going straight up biblical, and we're making this about angels versus demons and the 4 horsemen, and they just went crazy, and it was wonderful.
That's
They
what
leaned
I
into
want
it.
from this too. I think
Yeah.
about season. I keep going back to Buffy, but I go back to season 1 of Buffy, which is kind of weird
Is a
and
work in
uneven.
progress. There are bad episodes, just straight up bad
Yeah, there's great
episodes.
moments and there's bad episodes.
Yes, yeah.
The lighting's terrible. There's a lot of growing going on there, and then they come back and
season two
is incredible.
Yeah,
I'm really kind of hoping 2 and especially 3 of Riverdale. I just give me a Lovecraftian demon god.
Yeah.
Please, I want it so badly.
I think you can
want
build up to
supernatural
it.
stuff really bad.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed that because of the way, like, because we know season 1 ended on a cliffhanger, they're likely going to start season 2 fairly shortly after. I would have really liked a time jump.
Yeah.
I would love for it to be 6 months or a year later. I think that's the most interesting thing they could do. I feel like if we just start 10 seconds later with Luke Perry on the floor of the diner, that's less interesting to me.
That's probably what we're getting. But
I agree.
Could it also be, which I feel like a lot of shows have been doing recently, is we immediately cut there and see the aftermath for 2 minutes and then it does a time.
Then it does
like
time
I feel
jump.
like that is also.
I'm into that.
yeah, I love that. I really would love to jump ahead. I'd like them to work through some of those things. I like when TV allows us to resolve and reset. A time jump can be a cheap trick, but by and large, it isn't used that way. I think in contemporary television.
Let's predict. What do you think is the opening scene of season 2?
I'm not. I think that we are not in the diner.
Okay.
Yeah, opening season 2, we're not in the diner. I think that we are. Betty and Veronica are walking down the street side by side on a fall afternoon, talking back and forth, and their exposition gives us about 4 tantalizing mysteries. And then a car zooms around a corner toward them, and we cut to black with the exciting music.
Ooh.
There we go. That's mine.
And is the car hitting them?
The car is headed straight at them.
Okay.
And then it's and then the Riverdale thing pops up.
So is it the thing? Is it like what I call the Maverick, based on the Mel Gibson movie Maverick? That it starts with a thing and then we go back and then lead up to that thing.
Yep.
In media res.
Exactly.
perhaps?
In media very good. Love
Like
that.
the Maverick.
In media res.
Okay,
The Maverick
whatever.
thing. We love that. I do love. Well,
Some
in media
film
res
schools
actually
use
means you hop right into the middle of the action.
Yes,
and that,
yeah.
But yeah, you're doing the back and reset thing 6 months earlier.
The-
You're like,
the Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's my
Or like the Arrow season 3. Or
the
whatever.
final season of my TV show that I'll never do is the first episode of the final season starts that way. Like I love when shows allow you to do that and then hop back and take a look. I understand it's a trope, but tropes can be great.
Yeah. What do you think season 2 opening?
I have one of 2 scenes in mind, just as we were talking about it.
Scene 1.
Scene 1. It would be immediately in the diner. You see the aftermath, but then it cuts. So we don't actually know if we see that he's there. He's probably breathing, but like on the cusp of dying, and then we don't know.
Okay.
And then it cuts and they leave it like a mystery for most of the episode. And then in the last 2 minutes, you see him in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a very obvious way to go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to. Or it starts with
Scene 2.
Scene 2. It's you open with something amazing with Hiram. Like I think you open him as just like you show how big a force he's going to be in the season.
Yeah.
From minute 1.
Love that. Just right there, right in the middle of things. Okay.
I think you start at a funeral in the rain, and you have Archie looking very upset, standing alone, and it is a fake out and makes you think it's his father's funeral, and then ends up being someone else, and then he goes and visits his dad, and he's fine in the
So
hospital.
who is it?
The Arrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone random.
Do they-
like a
Delightful.
teacher or something?
Do they know who is in the coffin at that point? The writers? Because that's what happened with Arrow was they weren't sure who they were going to put.
I'm
in
not
that
saying
grave.
about flash forward. I'm just saying.
okay.
I'm saying that season 2 begins with maybe a 3-week, 1-month time jump,
Okay.
and they're at a funeral, and Archie's standing alone. But then 3 other people walk up, and he's not actually alone, and it's a fake out, and they go see his dad.
Okay, now I'm going to cheat and do another one.
Ooh,
Archie
he did
is.
too.
I did too.
So Archie
I have
is
7 more.
sitting. It's kind of close up, and Archie's tuning his guitar. You see like his hands, and he's sitting in his bedroom, mostly close up, and he's playing and singing a song that he's written all alone, kind of quiet in the room. And he does the Archie thing. They're little, and he's actually sad. And you see like an Archie, and he stands up and walks out, and the room is empty. There's nothing left but the box he was sitting on. The house is empty. He walks through the empty house and out. There's a for sale sign. He walks out, and it cuts to Riverdale because his dad's dead.
Ooh.
And it's and it's all started over.
I think you start on an extreme close-up of what looks like Archie crying, and then it zooms further and
he's
further
having
out,
sex.
and he's crying, laughing, and he's in a bowl full of maple syrup. and just
He's in the bowl.
And we're off the rails. I do
one.
have my Riverdale fanfic episodes I write at home when no one's around.
Yeah. Sure.
I like that you can only write them when no one's around.
Exactly.
You're fine if anyone reads them, but you have to write them
When no one's there. Exactly. I can't do it when Angie's around. I sit and my new dream in life is to write a Riverdale episode. So it's what all I can really want before
Please
I die.
someone start that online
Hashtag
petition.
let Jared write.
Yeah. Hashtag let Jared syrup.
I think we need to have a unified campaign here.
Pettydale.
No, that's really bad.
Hashtag
River Jared.
River
This
Jared.
was so terrible.
We have to decide on a definitive one because we want to get this
Yes,
going.
we actually want to.
We
Make this
don't
a
want
thing.
this to be the SDCC 2017 versus SDCC 17. Okay, I think we do Jared for Riverdale, but FOR.
FOR, because then people will think it's season 4 is when he takes over. And we don't
I
want
mean, he could be short on.
You know what?
Jared for Riverdale.
I'm not gonna discourage this. I'm all about that because
hashtag Jared for Riverdale. Make sure you tweet it at CW Riverdale. I think it is.
at CW Riverdale and at McBiggity. 2 G's, 2 G's.
Yeah, he has a lot of authority over it. Yep.
Well, anyway, that's the dream. I would really love to write it. I think it'd be fun to write. For any show, I think writing the Halloween episode is the most fun thing you can possibly do.
Especially
But
a
a Riverdale Halloween episode. I mean, plus that's a great one to write like as a one-shot thing because those can always be self-contained.
You can
They're
reset,
wonderful.
yeah.
And I do love self-contained episodes. I really do like dramatic linear television that builds on itself. I love arcs, I love storylines, but I also love beautiful standalone episodes, and I love those wonderfully subversive ones. I keep bringing up Buffy, but maybe my favorite Buffy episode is the Zeppo.
Oh, the Zeppo's great.
Which is an episode that only one character ever really knows what happened.
Yeah.
And have you seen it, Wolf?
The Zeppo's so great. Yeah.
I have a
Watch
complicated history with Buffy.
Yeah, the Zeppo is delightful.
I think I adore Buffy, but I think the best episodes of it are the Zeppo, Hush, The Body, like the ones that do something different.
Yeah.
Even though the show is uniformly so great during some of those seasons, it's when it really stands out that you adore it. It's the same with Community, which eventually became we're doing a different episode every time, but it is the ones that really landed the mark, whether it's the fake clip episode where it was all original clips, or something like
amazing.
that, or the one where it's the different
Pillow
Fort, different timelines.
Yep.
Like,
Well, that's the joy of episodic storytelling. I mean, yes, we do want dramatic arcs. I love dramatic arcs, but episodic storytelling lends itself to memorable moments, to peaks and high points.
So it's like the whole thing about like when you have a very dramatic show that does a funny episode, or when you have a comedy that does like a very special dramatic episode, they sometimes just don't work and they misfire, but often they're more effective than they would have been.
Yeah.
I think that's true of a very heavily serialized show doing a standalone episode, like Breaking Bad doing Fly, or when shows kind of break their formula a little bit, or when like an episodic show starts having a little bit of an arc halfway through, like in Fringe season 1 or whatever. Like I think that is when shows are at their best, when they're a little bit outside the norm.
Exactly, and Riverdale hasn't done that yet, and I cannot wait.
Okay, I'd love like what a bottle episode in the Riverdale universe will look like.
Yes.
I would love if they're all
gonna
stuck
be
in
great.
school for a day or something and
That'd be
just
amazing.
tensions
There's
low.
so many great things they can do with it.
I don't want to date this too much because I know when you're going to publish this, but we're recording this shortly after Spider-Man: Homecoming has been released.
Yeah, this is going to be like a couple of weeks from now.
Okay. So Spider-Man: Homecoming's out. It's very youthful.
Why are you talking about this old movie?
If you go, it's like a year old.
What are these spiders you speak of?
So they're on Cheryl's brooch. But when you watch that movie, unlike the other Spider-Man movies, everyone's young and they are authentically high school, and they're all these great high school aged actors. For Riverdale, in addition to the current ensemble, like make a character. Like who would you like to see join the cast? Like who do you think would be like an awesome
actor
addition?
or a character?
An actor.
Barb.
God.
Or a character, I guess.
Wow.
Barb from
I
Stranger
said, well,
Things.
because she was in it.
right?
Yeah, that was the joke.
Okay, is that
No,
where you're
no,
going?
I'm
And
thinking
they kind of
Barb
like
there?
made a reference to Barb too.
Yes,
Which I
yeah,
really
it was
liked.
clearly like, oh, we know who we're casting.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in a kind of a weird direction. I like when shows have one odd, out of place character. Okay, you remember the weird kid in the Lost Boys that's just there for some reason?
Yeah,
Laddie.
Yeah.
That's just wandering around dressed in like what looks like a West Point cadet uniform the entire movie. So there's a cut subplot that concerns this kid, but for most of the movie, you have the superfluous child running around in the middle of everything else that's happening. that's when it goes bad. But some shows and some movies will manage to have an outsider-style character that fits in very well with the people around them. And is the person you go to maybe for wisdom, the person that comes in and saves the day, the outside observer who comments on the weirdness that's happening. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of taking a non-CW kind of person and bringing them into the middle of this. So I'm thinking, in a dream universe, like maybe like James Edward Olmos.
Ooh, as like a parent?
It's like maybe not even a parent. Maybe just like
as a high school student.
no, not that either. But like
that new guy seems a little off.
They've played with like the mayors as potential like dramatic villains or things like that. But I'm thinking like some kind of beneficial force in everything that's going on. And I haven't settled this. I'm making this up as I go, which can be really bad.
Sorry to put you on spot.
But this could be anything from the town librarian that finally starts providing the answers to all the weird supernatural things that are starting to happen, all the
Giles of it.
Yeah, the Giles. And it doesn't have to be that. I don't necessarily think I want him guiding him so much as like you're not even sure if this person's good or bad. It could just be the weird old guy that lives in the woods. But I want a kind of a non-CW looking human that doesn't clash and keep showing up regularly.
I like that a lot.
So James Edward Olmos, that's who I want.
I want to see them, but I don't have an answer to my own question, but I want to see them flesh out Jughead's family more. I want to see Jughead's mom and Jellybean be interesting, and I want them to cheat a little bit and age up Jellybean.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be an actress.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be really cool. As far as like specific people, I don't know why I asked this question without having anything in mind. I think it would be really cool to get like just someone. I agree with you that like having a different energy, a different vibe would be a really good fit for the show.
I don't have a person at the moment, but sort of melding both of your answers, I think the more they can flesh out people in the town, and like side characters of whether it's a librarian or like someone working at the diner or someone at a different store that they frequent in the second season. Like I think adding in those secondary characters, this is, of course, I can't not do a show without mentioning this. That's what I love about Gilmore Girls is that whole town is built out and so many specific characters exist in that world. And then you can visit any part of that town and there are 5 different weird people to interact with.
Yeah, make him the high school janitor that goes through their lockers and knows what's going on in their lives. Make him that, something like that.
Yeah, I just don't want Riverdale to get too small. Like I don't want it to end up being that like we only have these 6 characters to deal with 2 seasons from now. Like
I agree.
I agree.
The more you can expand, do you have an actual actor?
I just thought of what's her name from Mad Men? Joan from Mad Men.
Why can't I remember her name right now?
Yeah.
Joan. Okay, we'll just say
Christina
Joan.
Hendricks?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes,
She would be awesome in this show.
I want
her to play somebody. She would have been great as Archie's mom, actually.
Yeah,
she would have. I'm glad we got Molly Ringwald for the delightful wink factor.
I'll just bring in Martin Sheen.
We asked some people.
Martin Sheen.
Just have him play the president. I think that would be.
That would be really good.
Yeah.
So here we have. I love the idea of like. Again, I keep going back to Almost, but I love the idea of Jughead being fascinated by his mustache.
Yeah.
Just like trying to learn to grow it just the same way.
I honestly just want Jughead doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's my dream season 2.
I think we talked about somebody getting killed, but of everybody dying, I mean, do you want to gut?
Don't you dare.
Killing Jughead would hurt. Like, that would bring
again, I could see that being a late game or like finale thing.
Oh, and then Jellybean takes over as narrator?
Yeah. What if Jughead kills someone?
They're killing somebody before this thing's over with.
Yeah, someone's going to become a murderer easily.
Yes, that's definitely.
I just don't want to be like Landry and Tyra
killing
the dude in the truck or whatever.
No, I think something a little more. I could see Veronica taking over. Actually, I could see Betty taking over as narrator.
Yeah, Betty rules. I sorry, I realized you were about to pull up a question.
No, it's okay.
I just want to say how much I like this cast and how perfect they are.
Yeah, I would like, especially. I think even for people who don't read Archie, Betty and Veronica are such stereotypical ideas of characters to people. Like I never read Archie comics until some of the modern ones that a friend gave to me, but I knew what Betty and Veronica were as characters.
Yeah.
And like these actresses have done such great work with them.
Both of them. They've done remarkable things with them, and the writing's good.
Yes.
They're giving, but the acting is good. This is a solid cast that's doing exactly what's asked of them. Yeah.
I mean, what's his name? Is it? I forget if he's Dylan Sprouse or Cole Sprouse.
I believe it's Cole.
Yeah. He's the most well-known of them.
Yeah. Went to college with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they went to NYU while I was there.
Did you meet them?
Sorry, I forget them. I met them once or twice, because they were in the art school and I was there also.
How was that?
It was fine. They're totally pleasant. Yeah.
So we have a few folks
sweet
wrote in
life.
to ask us to talk about things. So I want to get to a few of these. Dan Thompson says, talk about the sustainability of the show. We talked about that some.
Yeah,
what
they
with
have to
its
mix it up.
whodunit format and unconventional use of classic characters like Miss Grundy.
Yeah, I thought so.
Born on a Monday.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a really weird crossover with the Arrowverse when she becomes Solomon Grundy.
That would be unreal.
That's
if
season
she
4
shows
for you.
up with her nephew Solomon.
But the show would do that. I wouldn't be like if the show made her cousin
a
or
solid
something
CW
Solomon.
move.
Yeah, that's a good goof.
Gosh, that would be unreal.
So I asked you a leading question earlier about who early on you thought killed Jason Blossom.
Yeah.
I was dead set until the finale convinced that it was her, and that she only hooked up with Archie as a distraction from the fact that she murdered him somehow on that day.
An alibi.
Okay.
That they very specifically had her leave the show so she could dramatically come back.
Yeah.
'Cause she's conspicuously absent.
That's
Yeah.
one of
Like-
the storylines I feel like didn't work out amazingly. Like that was definitely one of the weird, like, oh, that just kind of petered out and
I
seemed
agree.
like you didn't know what you
Do you
wanted
think
to
they're
do.
setting something up for a year later?
They could.
I
But
mean,
I
maybe
don't think they
now.
were.
I don't
Yeah.
think they were. I agree.
Yeah, like it was a thing for the pilot to be like, look, he's hooking up with the teachers, isn't that amazing? And then it was like, oh, what do we do now with this?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah, Miss Grundy was a character. Are you familiar with the comic character? She's
Not
like
that
the
much.
gray-haired older lady.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so they're just like, hey.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, that's where they. And again, it's a very very Riverdale piece of storytelling. Who really? Somebody just asked a simple question. I don't think we've actually said this. Zachary asks, "Who are your favorite characters and why?" I mean, we mentioned Jughead. Is he really everybody's favorite?
Jughead's my number one for sure.
Jughead's up there.
I really, what was her name? Valerie, the pussycat that he dates.
Valerie, yeah.
I thought she was great. Cheryl Blossom really is just like
Cheryl's
the
great.
anchor
It's
of the show.
so
in
much
a lot
fun
of
to
ways.
watch. Yeah. I ended up liking. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, like I really liked Veronica.
Yeah, Veronica's great.
Just more than I expected to, because again, I came in thinking those characters were going to be very cliched takes, and they weren't.
Also, like, I don't know, I kind of have expected them to date Betty and Veronica. Like,
I
I
would-
felt like they were setting that
I
up.
feel like they still can.
Yeah.
I don't think that's off the table
I agree
at
with
all.
that.
I really enjoy Veronica. I really enjoy Veronica's mom a lot. Of all the parents,
Yeah.
She's
my
great.
favorite.
She
Yeah,
is
I agree.
fantastic. Yeah.
by a long shot. She gets a lot of range. She's bad things are always happening to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she manages to, and it's no easy task to pull off. You want the audience to feel sorry for you, but you don't want to have pity at the same time.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she does that really well. She balances that strength and sadness very well. I like
I
the
agree.
way that character's written, and I very much like the way that she's portrayed.
Yeah,
she's
she's
enacted.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And I also really like, I think she has a very cute chemistry with Luke Perry. I think that their
Yeah.
whole thing actually, like,
It worked.
normally is the kind of thing I wouldn't like,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think it works really
That's
well.
like the subplot in Gossip Girl. I'm like, just fast forward through this, please. But
Exactly,
Yeah, it worked
yeah.
here well.
Yeah, I think I agree. It worked there pretty well too. Let's see, what else do we have here? We've covered that. What do you have? Yeah, When Sabrina the Teenage Witch in giant letters.
Hell yeah.
Mark just says maple syrup for sure.
Archie's in a bowl of it, apparently.
Yeah.
So let's
And Andrew
You heard it here
Speck
first.
let's talk about maple syrup for a second.
Is that like Riverdale's version of like a wet T-shirt contest?
No,
It's
I'm just
men
gonna ask
dripping in
you,
maple
A
syrup.
wet syrup contest.
I'm just going to ask you
It's
your
really
general
poorly
thoughts
thought
on
out.
maple syrup. Where do you fall on maple syrup?
It's fine.
Well, like I haven't had maple syrup in a while, so it's been out of my life, and I miss it.
I visited the East Coast recently to see my family, and I had a cool diner experience, and they had like pancakes and waffles and stuff, and it was very good. I do pancakes and waffles at, like, if I'm in a hotel and they have like a breakfast buffet, I'll do that a lot. I don't think I've had proper maple syrup in my
Same.
life though. Like, I've
Yeah.
never had like authentic, like, I've had like Aunt Jemima and,
Yeah.
and stuff,
But you never had, like, real
I've never had like
No, yeah.
A+ like Canadian maple syrup.
Have
or-
either of you guys ever gone and tapped maple syrup?
No.
No,
No?
No.
no.
Like go out on a cold day
Unlike
and,
Cheryl, no.
No,
Yeah.
never. Well, Cheryl does done that every
yeah.
year, along with
But
Jason.
yeah, I haven't either. But whenever I have pancakes, I drench them in maple syrup, so I
Yeah.
must like it.
Me too, but again,
Yeah.
it's like Mrs. Butterworth
Yeah,
or
but like people who are conservative with their maple syrup, I'm like, then you're missing the point. Like the
Yeah.
point is to have
you don't
a
eat pancakes
small
and
pool.
waffles to be healthy.
Yeah,
Is
you don't?
Jason Blossom coming back?
as a zombie, yes.
I want him to.
No,
Get out of here. We have this town's only big enough for one male redhead.
Best name on Riverdale?
Oh,
Who's got the best
Hiram
name?
Lodge.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I like
Pretty solid.
Hermione Lodge.
Yeah, Hermione Lodge.
yeah,
That's my
Hiram
favorite.
and Hermione.
Yeah, that's
is
pretty
very
great.
good.
It's kind of fantastic.
I mean, I know.
Jellybean.
Yeah, I know it's from the
Jellybean's
comics, but Jellybean's
great.
fantastic.
Well, they're all from the comic. I mean, these are all
Yeah.
characters,
Hiram is as well. I
these are all
wasn't sure.
characters, so.
Okay.
Are any characters invented for the show?
I'm trying to remember. Now you put me on the spot.
I had just assumed because
I don't know
of
if
his
any.
mystery.
I don't know if anybody major is invented for the show. I can't think of anybody that
Is
doesn't
like the sheriff's
have.
son? And all
Yeah,
that?
like those are all
Okay.
characters. I cannot think of anyone that's been created originally for the show. That will be fun to see if you have somebody kind of come in and from outside.
Yeah.
What do you not want to see happen to Riverdale?
A legal battle of any kind.
Yeah, like
I don't.
courtroom stuff.
Which is what, not to keep harping on it, but that's what 13 Reasons Why season 2 is probably going to be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to watch a legal battle.
What, do you just not enjoy legal battles, courtroom dramas?
No, I mean, I love The Good Wife, but I think it has to be built into the way the show is. And when you shoehorn in legal battles, it usually doesn't work out well.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know. I want there to be. I like the drama. I like the back and forth. I like the will they, won't they. I like the swapping, who's dating. All that stuff works for me, but I want it to be handled well. What I don't want is like every third episode Archie switches between Betty and Veronica, and
Yeah.
that's it. And then like maybe Jughead and Veronica date. Like I don't want it to be musical chairs. I want it to feel earned because I feel like sometimes there's like if you go back and watch like Friends or something, there was like this. There's like the weird flirtation between two people who don't fit, and it's like just for the sake of like Gossip Girl is the same way.
Gossip
like,
Girl and the
everyone
OC
dated
fell prey to
everyone.
that too, where it would be
Totally.
like, oh, do they maybe like each
Well,
other? It's
there's
like, no,
there's
they-
weird flirtations. Although I do love that Friends. That's another TV trope I love is the slight prequel episode where you go back to 6 months before and show everybody
Yeah.
before all this happened.
Yeah, before they met.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, we'll totally get Veronica's old. I bet you. I can see if Hiram's not in episode 1, and maybe he is, but I can totally see them at some point in the season showing a Veronica-centric episode of before she got to Riverdale.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
And showing like when they found out that he was going to prison and like scenes that she's kind of described, but like seeing them happen.
Yeah, when they
Yeah.
build him
But
up,
there'll be
that
some
was
kind of
totally-
huge revelation tied up in that if you're going to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it.
yeah,
like
yeah.
she
You
killed
see
the guy.
something
or-
off.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
they could go down some real, but like I would not be surprised if they were lesser right. If I had less faith in these writers, it would be like the immediate abortion would be like
Yeah.
a thing I could see them jumping to.
Oh, that's
That,
interesting. And I think I do have a lot of faith in the writing staff. I think this show's going to get better for quite a while. And,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
exciting. I've really enjoyed the first season. They've laid a great foundation. I'm glad we have entertainment like this. I'm glad there's some. I have some problems with the assertion that we're in the golden age of television. That I keep hearing that phrase
Peak TV.
used.
Peak
yeah,
TV.
peak TV, etc. I'm not sure that's true, but we're definitely in a
How are you possibly not sure that's true? I feel
ridiculously
like we're
interesting stage of television.
man. I feel like it is. I feel like right now TV is better than film. I think honestly,
Yes.
there's more
Yeah.
creative stuff happening in TV than in film.
I'm not necessarily going to argue against that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you take the films that are being made right now and the television that's being made right now, a lot of the TV is more interesting than a lot of the film. But I'm not convinced that says as much about the strength of the television as it says about the weakness of the film.
Interesting.
That's fair. I would say when we say it's a golden age, I don't think we're saying it's the only golden age. I also think it's a golden age where comedy and drama both happen to have excellent places. Where as I felt in the past, it was a golden age of drama or golden age of comedy.
Yeah.
Like it was one or the other usually. But I feel like right now, TV historians will look back, and right now you can point to a dozen excellent comedies and dramas.
There's a lot
at
of
any
great
point.
stuff happening.
Yes, yeah.
And I also feel like famous A-list actors, like there used to be a stigma attached to doing TV that I don't think is there anymore. So
Yeah.
I think you're getting major like talented people doing shows.
You're getting delightful talent. You're getting a lot of great things.
Yes.
My argument's that Golden Age is probably another episode. What I do like about it, after I've said I don't think it's the Golden Age, and there's a series of reasons for that.
Yeah.
What I do love about it is it kind of reminds me of the early PlayStation era.
Ooh.
There's so much opportunity out there right
Yeah.
now that you can just try almost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance you may get it produced.
There
you
are
might even get a season 2.
Yes,
Exactly,
there
and
are so
that's
many
happening.
platforms desperate for content right now
Yeah.
and wanting to make a name for themselves that they will try unexpected things.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. So you can get things like there was a time people were making games about polar bears that sang Enka, and being produced by major labels. You can have that happen on television, and some of it's sticking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you could have sold an Archie-based dark drama mystery show even 3 years ago, and now you can. And I'm really excited about that.
I agree.
Also, we live in a world where I got Samurai Jack season 5, which is more than any of us deserve. So I'm happy about that as well. Final question. big mystery shows this year. Obviously, when I think of 2 television shows about mystery, I think Riverdale and Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yeah.
Because there's so much alike.
I mean, weirdly, Westworld I think was a really smart kind of.
It was a mystery, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was a really, I don't know, like I like that show more than I thought I would. I'm also not completely, in love with it. Like I think it has problems. But.
Well, that's what I'm guessing. How does Riverdale stack up against its mystery contemporaries?
Ooh.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I think it was. I think you nailed it earlier when you said even when it's predictable, it does it in interesting ways. Like I don't think that guessing that it was Mr. Blossom would have been impossible. I think they threw a lot of good red herrings in. But I don't know.
Red herring.
Oh, you. I think that I don't know. I think it's in the upper tier. I don't know if it's necessarily like calling it. Comparing it to Twin Peaks is impossible. Like I don't even know.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do it right now.
Then go ahead.
Oh wait.
Well, I want to hear the Twin Peaks.
Okay. Well, absolutely. I mean, what we need to have happen now is Dougie Jones wandering into Riverdale.
Of course. Because what the fans really want from Twin Peaks is more Dougie.
But no, these are. I think you actually touched on a little of it there. Twin Peaks, I think, is a show largely about perplexing us in fascinating ways. Riverdale, in a lot of ways, is too. They're actually remarkably similar in that you have a pretty good idea where this is headed. Yeah. But you're having a lot of fun getting there.
I also think because it's a problem that was born of the post-era of Lost, but like puzzle box shows that are like meant to be figured out. While both Twin Peaks and Riverdale have mystery, I don't think they are built to be solved.
Exactly.
Like Riverdale, the point is like, you're not watching to figure out who killed him.
You're there for the ride.
You're there for the ride.
That's where I was going.
And Twin Peaks, you were there for the entire aesthetic of it and how singular it is and everything that it gives you and allows you to interpret yourself.
I would argue that in a lot of ways, Riverdale has more in common with Twin Peaks than it does with Arrow.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, it's interesting comparing it to so I think of like BBC Sherlock, right, which is very much what you're saying, and that bothers some people. Is that you watch an episode of that show, especially in the later seasons, and it's like you cannot figure it out.
Yeah,
but you're not designed to.
No,
it's not. It's not about giving you the clues and seeing if you can guess it before Sherlock does. It's about enjoying the antics and enjoying how he figures it out and enjoying watching him do it.
Whereupon Westworld was much more a puzzle box show.
I think that show was built to be like, hey, this is a clue. This is especially with the way things unfurled. Yeah,
and I liked it a lot. Actually, I really enjoyed.
It's not a mark of whether it's good or bad. Yeah.
No, one of my favorite moments on TV this year is watching Ed Harris's arm burst into blood and his face just contort into a grin of pure joy. It's one of my favorite things I saw on TV this year. I love that. You know what? We've been doing this for an hour. That's probably good for the good people here. Thank you for sticking with us, watching, listening at all, etc. Thank you for supporting Pockets Full of Soup. Get ready for we've got another some interesting stuff coming up. I hope you enjoy it. But in the meantime, you two fine gentlemen, where can these good people find you, follow you, discover what wonderful things you're creating? What do you have here to plug?
Just it goes to silence. Yes, I figured we go in order.
Oh, sure. I run News IGN. We have a bunch of cool stuff. I've written actually a lot of stuff I'm proud of recently because I did a little bit of long form stuff. So I did a Shigeru Miyamoto interview. I did a bunch of cool stuff on IGN that you can read. But mostly find everything I do at Garfep on Twitter, GARFEP. And I don't know, I'm on Comedy Button. I'm on Kind of Funny Stuff. I float around.
Yeah, you do. You literally float. We all float down here.
I can't not hear your Twitter name and think of the acronym for it that Greg made long ago, but I'm not going to say it now. But yeah, all of your recent long form stuff is fantastic. It's also good. I'm not just saying that because we're sitting on this couch together, but no, legitimately.
Nor because he's your boss.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I slave away in the news mines under Andrew. No. Yeah. All of that stuff was wonderful. And I'm glad I could read it.
Thank you.
I also am on IGN working on the news, and I was just on Kind of Funny as well, so you can find me there.
He did a extremely ridiculously deep dive into Kingdom Hearts with Alexa Ray.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen this yet.
It's really fun. It is. If you don't like Kingdom Hearts, that's not the episode for you. But if you're if you're interested in Kingdom Hearts, try it. It's kind of fun. You can find me there. You can find me on IGN. I'm on some of the shows there sometimes. I just wrote a piece about Crash Bandicoot, which I am very proud of also, even though it's emotional in a way you would not expect Crash to be, but I like it. And
It's actually weirdly a good follow-up to your Pockets episode.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And yeah, you can find me just talking about stuff on Twitter at JM Dornbush.
And you guys will be back to talk about some other things. Pockets Full of Soup will continue to be a storytelling show in its coming season. We're going to find all kinds of news stories people have to tell, and we're going to find stories about different things that we haven't yet. I hope you enjoy. Thank you again, friends. Until next time.
Stay pocketsing.
Wow.
Jared for Riverdale.
Oh yeah, Jared for
Riverdale.
Riverdale.
Hashtag
right.
Jared for Riverdale.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.